Hello everyone. We're going to discuss Edgar Allan Poe's famous, even in Poe's time, famous American poem, The Raven. So we'll read along and I'll explain as we go. The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Obviously on his mind is that it could be something else, because he's convincing himself that it is nothing more. But he's weak, he's weary, his subconscious is about to open. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had tried to borrow from my book's surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. So we found out what might be in his subconscious, his lost maiden, Lenore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating at my chamber door, that it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "Madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping. And so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." "This," I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. So he's staring into the darkness and hearing Lenore. There into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon I heard again a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped the stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not an instant stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched above a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then the ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," said I, "art sure no craven, as ghastly grim an ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on thy night's plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Okay, so why a raven? Like crows, ravens come around to pick the dead. Like a raven, like a crow, the raven is considered an omen of death. That's a chicken, by the way. Much I marvel this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. Now, he's convincing himself that, the word, nevermore, that doesn't mean anything, but he's convincing himself that means to him it does. For we cannot help agreeing that no sublunary being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word did he outpour, nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered. Other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before, quoth the raven, nevermore. So we're starting to get some clues about what is going on inside our narrator here. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. So we have this fellow sitting by a fire one evening, and he hears a rapping. No one's at the door, but a raven comes in the window when he opens the shutter, and all the raven says is nevermore. Maybe it's really just saying, ah! But he hears, our narrator hears nevermore, and drawing out in his sort of state between sleep and awake. He's weary, right? He's weary. Comes out his past feelings for Lenore. Wondering at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster. So when hope he would adjure, stern despair returned instead of the sweetest hope he dared abjure, that sad answer, nevermore. So he's trying to dismiss our narrator's dismissing the nevermore. Oh, the raven just heard it from a master that it had who was always telling it nevermore, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul, the sad soul, into smiling. Straight I wheeled in cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking about this ominous bird of yore. What this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. So again, emerging from his subconscious here, the internal drives that Poe is so interested in. The pronoun she comes out, right? So he's resting on the velvet cushion, and all I can think of is she will never press it anymore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed by an unseen censer, swung by angels whose faint footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, cried I, thou God hath led thee, by these angels he hath sent thee. Respite, respect, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Let me quaff this kind nepenthe and forget the lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. He's trying to quaff some nepenthe to lose the memory of Lenore.